I believe over the weekend, reports said he had a $20 million bond, but now he is being held without bond. He is pleading not guilty, and his pre-trial hearing will be in January, with his trial date set to start sometime in March. He lived about 1.5 miles from the Monon High Bridge, and right down the road from the sheriff's department. I believe I even heard he lived near Abby's house, but don't quote me on that last one. He was a pharmacy technician at the CVS in Delphi, Indiana, and received his license in 2018, after the murders occurred. Now, what led to his arrest? Not real sure, but I have a theory. Whatever the tip was, gave law enforcement probable cause to search his property. I am completely speculating here, but I believe that his wife was most likely the tipster, and here is why. I think for 5.5 years, she very well could have believed her husband was the monster that did this, but I am not saying she knew for certain that her husband confessed to her, and it's highly doubtful that he did. But who better to know someone than that of a spouse, especially one that's been married for 30 years. They also share a daughter together. I think she probably knew deep down inside that he was most likely the perpetrator, but chose to live in denial until the day came that she no longer could. I can only speculate at this point, but something must have happened for her to suddenly decide, if this is the case, to call the police and possibly tell them she thinks her husband committed these crimes. And again, I am going to guess it was either her or someone close to the family that tipped them off. The reason I believe it may have gone down this way is because, one, someone had to call in a tip, and that someone had to be close enough to Alan to tell the police they needed to search his home and property. According to the neighbors, they went right to the spot in the backyard where a burn pit was located, and whatever was under that burn pit had to be hard direct evidence in order for law enforcement to make an arrest. Whether it be the clothes he was wearing that day, the murder weapon such as the smoking gun, but you can bet they found what they needed to arrest him somewhere on his property. And keep in mind, law enforcement and the prosecutors have been very careful not to arrest any of the other persons of interest involving this case, unless they had strong evidence to secure a conviction. Some people may say, well, 5.5 years is a long time to finally arrest someone, but in my opinion, they have played this right from day one. Some even put off retirement to stay on the case, dedicating and sacrificing their own time and lives just to see this monster brought to justice. In too many scenarios of other murder cases, have police been pressured into arresting someone on mere circumstantial evidence too quickly, only to find out 20 years down the road, an Innocence Project becomes involved and finds a person wrongly convicted in a case, and that person is released from prison as they should be if innocent. But all this does is end up crushing the entire investigation with a great deal of lost time. With all the red tape and time it takes to even get a wrongfully convicted person out of prison, starting from square one years and years later usually never ends up in catching the killer, and the case can become cold forever. And you don't want to have the right person on trial, then end up losing the case because you couldn't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that person was guilty, and end up setting a killer free, who can never be tried criminally again because of double jeopardy laws. So I commend the task force on doing a great job in finally making an arrest. Although Alan is presumed innocent until proven guilty, you know law enforcement most likely has the right guy, especially in this case where they have been extremely hush-hush about it. I am not sure about every state law, but in most cases, a spouse isn't required to testify against another spouse. And if this is the case, that his own wife tipped off the police, that won't matter anyways. What matters here is that he was most likely arrested for whatever they found in his yard, and that is what has tied him to this case and what will most likely get him convicted. So what are your thoughts on this new development and arrest? Let me know by leaving your comments below. For new content and breaking news stories, please be sure to click the notifications to follow along and be notified when updates are available. Don't forget to like, comment, and please feel free to share. You can also join my Facebook group for True Crime and History Time and follow me on TikTok and Instagram. My usernames for those platforms are @JerryScarborough Official. And as always, thank you for watching, subscribing, and supporting my channel.